Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie. Today I thought we would do another dupes video, half high-end, half drugstore video. I've not done one of these since, I believe I did one in 2020, like around the time like the lockdown started for COVID and stuff. I think that was the last one I did. So I've tried to avoid repeating any of the products that I used in that video. I wanted to kind of do some newer updated dupes. I have skipped a few categories just because I don't actually have a dupe and everything. Like I don't have a mascara dupe or an eyeliner dupe or a setting spray dupe, but the majority of things are included in this video. There's just a couple of things here and there that didn't have anything for. So obviously this is the completed makeup. So half of my face is drugstore and half of it is high-end. So if I give you a close look, feel free to make your guess which side is which. I mean, I feel like they look very similar. But yeah, I'm now gonna start a video and the answer will be revealed to you which side is which, so have fun with that. Hello, so if you're wondering why there is a mop in the background, that's because I decided to vomit all over my floor at 3 AM. No further questions. Okay, so we're going to start with the eyeshadow, of course. I have done a concealer base already. I've used the concealers that we will talk about later in the video. We will just skip right past that. So, for eyeshadow, my dupe, the expensive one is this one from MAC. This is their art library and it's the Flamboyant one, which is a very like warm-toned palette. It looks like this. It's a really quite a lovely palette. It's mostly matte. It's got 3 shimmers. Nope, sorry, 5 shimmers. 5 shimmers and then the rest are mattes. It is a really nice palette. However, this costs £40, which is very expensive. I did actually get it as a Christmas present about 2 years ago. But I was going through like all my eyeshadow palettes and I was like trying to find things I could dupe. And I did notice that this palette from Gosh, it's a bit dirty, sorry. This is the 006 to Rock Down Under eyeshadow palette. I did notice that the colour story was pretty damn similar to the MAC one. I mean, they're both just like warm-toned palettes. The Gosh one only has 1 shimmer in. However, the shimmer is actually very similar to one of the goldy bronzy shimmers in here, so it kind of works. Obviously not 100% the same thing, but I thought that there was like, there are literally some shades in here that are like identical to each other, and those are obviously going to be the ones that I use today. The Gosh one, you can get this on the website Natino, which is a UK website that I use a lot, for £7.40. It did say that it was £15 and it had been reduced to £7.40. So, I don't know, I'm just saying it's £7.40, which is a lot cheaper than £40. So, yeah, I mean, and I've practiced this look like twice now, and it turns out pretty similar, to be honest. So, if you don't want to spend £40 on this palette, which is very nice, if you want some cheaper warm tones, I'll put a link to where you can buy this one. There are other websites you can buy it on. And obviously Gosh is like, I think it's a Danish brand, so it's probably like really easy. It's probably a lot easier to get in like Europe, so. Okay, so in the MAC palette, I started with this sort of like burnt orange shade, this one here. That's going in the crease area, and then this shade in the Gosh palette is pretty damn identical to that, so we're gonna just do those on each side. This is my high-end eye, this is my drugstore eye. So I'm going for a sort of like halo eye kind of thing. Yeah, this is just going on both sides in the kind of crease and above. Yeah, this shade pretty much blends the same, so yes. So in the MAC palette, I'm now going to go in with this dark red shade here, and that's going to go underneath the lighter orangey shade. In the Gosh palette, I'm using this red shade here, which again is pretty identical to the red in the MAC palette I just used. I mean, so far, it pretty much looks the same, doesn't it? We're now going to go in with this quite dark brown colour in the MAC palette, and we're going to get a bit smokier. Again, I'm trying to keep to that sort of halo eye kind of structure. So it's kind of going like in the outer and inner thirds. Also going to dip into this red here as well. It's pretty deep red, just to sort of blend with that darker shade. Okay, and on the Gosh side, we're using this dark brown shade, and then the shade next to it is the equivalent of the dark red shade, if that makes sense, and doing the same thing. Now the only thing with the MAC palette is it doesn't have a matte white, it only has this sort of shimmery shade, which I feel like doesn't really work for what I want to do, which is just to blend under the brow bone. The Gosh palette does have a matte white in it though, so I'm just going to use it on both sides. Sorry if that's kind of cheating, but I just need something to diffuse out the crease colours a bit. To make up for it though, I probably will use the white shimmer from the MAC palette on both sides as well. Maybe a bit later in like the inner corner or something. I'm just using the matte white in the Gosh palette just to blend under the brow bone on both sides. Okay, so next I'm going to do a cut crease. I'm just going to use the concealers that I'm going to be using later in the video on each side, and we're going to do a bit of a halo eye. So I'm using this sort of bronzy, coppery, goldy kind of shimmery shade from the MAC palette, and that is going all over the halo eye cut crease thingamabob. And it is a very pretty shimmer. I'm going to use a mix of my fingers and a brush. Okay, so I cleaned up the edge a bit, so this eye is pretty much complete. So let's finish off the other side. So again, I'm going to do a cut crease, and I'm going to use this shimmer, which is pretty damn similar to the shimmer in the MAC palette. And let's do the same thing. Right, okay, so that is the two eyeshadows side by side. Again, they're not completely symmetrical because I'm incompetent. I guess I'll close my eyes, but I feel like they look pretty damn similar, the shades. Maybe like a few teeny tiny subtle differences in some of the mattes, I don't know, but overall I feel like pretty damn similar shades, pretty similar performance as well. I think any difference are mainly due to my application, probably more so than anything, but I definitely feel like it's really good. I definitely feel like this is a pretty good dupe for this palette, definitely. I mean, I think it's pretty good. I don't have any like eyeliner or mascara dupes or anything like that, so I'm just gonna go and do those off camera. And then, actually, I also don't have a primer dupe, so I'll do primer as well off camera. And yeah, we'll do some base dupes. So we're gonna do a foundation dupe. So the high-end one we have is the Urban Decay Stay Naked Weightless Liquid Foundation, which I do quite like. This costs £31, which is very expensive. Something that I think is really similar to it is this one from Maybelline, which is the Fit Me Matte and Poreless foundation. I think they're really similar. They have a similar sort of kind of semi-matte finish. I know that this is called matte and poreless, but in my opinion it's not like a super duper matte foundation. It's more sort of semi-matte, which the Urban Decay one I'd say is also kind of semi-matte. They're both quite lightweight and more sort of light to medium coverage. They both sort of wear similarly. They both have similar sort of wear. I think they're actually like really similar. Also my shades are kind of similar as well. The Maybelline one I have in 100 Warm Ivory, and the Urban Decay one is in 10WY. So yeah, I'm gonna start by putting the Urban Decay one on this side of my face. I did put a bit of red in my waterline for reasons, I don't know why. You do need to shake this a bit before you use it. I do quite like this foundation as like a more lightweight option, because it also wears really well. And sometimes I do want something a little bit lighter on the skin. So I do actually wear this quite a bit. But the Maybelline one is, did I say how much it was? It's $7.99. Although I did see it for $5.99 on some places, so considerably cheaper. It's been around for quite a while, I believe. It's really quite difficult to apply a foundation to just one half of your face. I don't know if it's just my eyes, but I feel like I look extra ghostly and pale today. I think both of these foundations are like a little bit too light for me, unfortunately, but I think it's all gonna work out in the end. That's what I keep telling myself every day. Yeah, the Maybelline one, I think it's like a teeny tiny bit darker than the Urban Decay one, but they are pretty similar. I think this one's just a teeny bit deeper. The undertones are pretty similar. But yeah, they have like the same sort of coverage, same sort of finish, same sort of wear. Like, I just think that, is this a dupe? Someone must have like done this dupe before, right? Because this Maybelline foundation's been around for ages. And the Urban Decay one came out about 2 years ago. So someone must have put this together by now, right? Okay, so that's both foundations applied. I mean, like, I feel like it looks really similar. Like, I'd say maybe the Urban Decay one has like the ever so slightest bit more coverage, but like there's barely anything in it because they're both more light to buildable to medium coverage foundations. So it's like on both sides I still feel like I can see like my acne coming through and stuff, but like that doesn't really matter because obviously we're gonna use concealer and stuff and powder foundation. But yeah, I feel like they look so similar. They have a really similar finish. They're both sort of like demi-matte, semi-matte. They have like that a bit of hydration to them, but they are still kind of like matte ultimately. I feel like if you're considering buying this Urban Decay foundation, maybe try the Maybelline one out first. And then if you like that formula, then you probably would like the Urban Decay one as well. Although you might like the Maybelline one so much that you're like, well, actually, do I need to buy the Urban Decay one? Okay, so we're gonna do two concealer dupes actually. So I'm gonna do one for under the eyes to have like a bit of a brightening effect. I've got the EYESHADOW Stay Woke concealer. My one is in White Pearl 0.5. This is like lighter than my skin tone. I use it to brighten, and it costs £21. My dupe, which this isn't an exact dupe, the shades are pretty much a dupe. They're both like brightening shades that are pretty similar. So it's the Rimmel Multitasker concealer. Mine's in Porcelain, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what the shade name was. They're not 100% the same formula. They both have similar coverage. I would just say that the Rimmel one is a little bit more matte and the EYESHADOW one's a little bit more hydrating. So the formula isn't exactly the same, but they are pretty similar. And the shades are like pretty much identical. But yeah, they're both like got quite a thick consistency, have really good coverage. It's literally, I would say the only real difference is that the EYESHADOW one's a bit more hydrating and the Rimmel one's a bit more matte. But like the Rimmel one isn't like dry matte at all. Like it's still like, it has got a little bit of hydration in it. It doesn't look like really dry and crusty or anything. But I feel like the hydration is a bit more obvious with the EYESHADOW one. So I'm using the EYESHADOW one on this under eye first. And we're going to use the Rimmel on this side. Like the shades are like pretty much the same. Yeah, I mean the coverage they give is pretty much the same. This just has like an ever so slightly more matte texture. And this one just has a little bit more, it's not oily at all, just a little bit more like hydrating the texture of it. That's really the only difference. So just to go over blemishes, I'm going to use the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. It's my high-end one. Obviously this is like a favourite concealer of a lot of people. People love this thing. It costs £26, which is very expensive. I actually have two dupes. The one that I'm going to use is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. So not the original Camo Concealer, the hydrating one. Like the original wouldn't be a dupe. The hydrating one, however, I feel like is a pretty good dupe. I do also think that the Catrice True Skin High Cover Concealer, I also think that would be a dupe too. I feel like it's quite similar in formula, and that is sort of like a kind of matte hydrating at the same time with really good coverage. I feel like it's also really similar. The Catrice one is £3.95, which is ridiculously cheap. The e.l.f. one is £6, so they're both bargains, and I feel like they're really similar to this guy. So we're going to start by using the Too Faced one. Just using it over blemishes on this side of my face. This side of my face definitely has got more blemishes right now, because I'm having a breakout again. I swear I say that in every video. The shade of this is like, it's in the shade Swan. It's like a bit deep for me, but I can use it like over blemishes and it looks fine. I really like the Too Faced concealer. It is very good. It's just quite expensive. So yeah, I'm going to use the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. This one is in the shade Fair Warm, and it's also like a tiny bit dark for me, so actually I feel like the shades are quite similar to each other. Yeah, I feel like they're really similar to each other, these shades actually, so that's kind of the reason that made me want to use this one over the Catrice one, because they're both sort of a bit too deep for me, but I can use them like over blemishes, especially when I have a foundation on that's too pale, like right now, for example. Yeah, I feel like these have a really similar formula. They're both like full coverage. They're both sort of, I do feel like they're both ultimately matte, but they are like a more hydrating matte. I mean, like, I feel like they both just gave the exact same coverage and like pretty much the exact same finish as well. So as much as I do love that Too Faced one, I do feel like the e.l.f. one is just as good. Like, if you want to save money, like, it's not gonna look any worse than the Too Faced one. Literally, it's 20 quid cheaper because the Too Faced one's 26 and the e.l.f. one is 6, so that's a lot. That's a big saving. And like I said, I do also feel like the Catrice one, which is even cheaper, is also really similar. I mean, looking at my bases side by side, they look the same. They look the same. This is why I had to do another dupes video, just because I felt like some of the products I tried last year, like, I just knew that there was some dupes in there, so I had to do another one. Okay, so we're going to do powder now. So I'll do loose powder and pressed powder. So the high-end one we're going to use is the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Loose Setting Powder. This is the Sugar Cookie shade, which is kind of like a white translucent one. Now the original dupe I was going to do actually was the Collection Lasting Perfection, the transparent loose powder, because I thought they did the same thing, but I have run out of that powder, so I cannot use that as a dupe. However, this one from iHeartRevolution I feel like is also like a really good dupe. This is their coconut scented baking powder, which is also basically white translucent. It's got like the teeny tiniest like pink tint, I would say, but it doesn't really look like there's any tint in it. Once you put it on, it just looks like a white translucent powder. So the Huda powder costs £31, which is a lot of money, and the Revolution one costs £5, which is considerably cheaper. The formula is really similar. I'd say the only difference is the Huda Beauty one is a little bit more lightweight on the skin. That's the only difference really that I notice, but I feel like they essentially do the same job. So I'm gonna just set my under eye with the Huda one first. Yeah, one of the things I do really like about this Huda powder is it is like just really lightweight. I do feel like a lot of loose powders are quite heavy, so it is nice to find one that's quite light in the skin. So we're going to use the iHeartRevolution one on the other side to set my under eye down. This one does essentially do the same thing, but like as you can see, it is like a lot thicker, the consistency, whereas this one kind of blends into your skin a lot more. But the thing is, like, once you've kind of dusted away the excess with this, it will end up looking pretty similar. So for pressed powder on the rest of my face, I do actually quite like this dupe. So it's a dupe for the MAC Studio Fix Powder Foundation. The one I have is in NC10. I have actually been using this quite a lot lately. It is really good. But this one I feel like does the same thing. This is the Revolution Conceal and Define Satin Matte Powder Foundation, which has hyaluronic acid and cannabis sativa. This one isn't 0.2. I have barely any left of this. I'm hoping I have enough to do one half of my face today, but I definitely rebuy this. It's really good. It does the same thing as the MAC one. It's like, it gives you coverage, it looks really smooth and flawless, and it just sets your face down. It just does what you want it to do. And for a lot cheaper. The MAC powder costs £30. The Revolution Powder Foundation costs £8, which is a good saving if you ask me. My MAC one, the shade I have this, like, it is a little bit too deep, but like it does work. It's like ever so slightly too dark for me, but I can usually get it to work, because like my foundation usually always comes out too pale anyway, so it kind of just neutralizes that anyway. So I'm using the MAC one just to set the rest of my face down on this side. I do really like this powder. I wonder if they've added more shades since I bought this about 3 years ago. Okay, so that's done a really great job. Smooth, gives you a tiny bit more coverage. it's just a nice product. So we're going to use the Revolution one on the other side now. This one's actually a bit lighter, so when I practiced it, it didn't look weird, so we'll see. But I am also going to kind of wipe away the excess of that loose powder a bit as well, because it is quite a lot of it there. But yes, I think I should have enough here to set the rest of my face down. But yeah, this is really similar. I will definitely buy another one when I'm off my no-buy. Right, okay, so that is the base finished, and again, I feel like it looks pretty damn identical. I think because I use quite heavy concealers and heavy powders, I have overall got quite a full coverage look, even though the foundations were more lighter coverage. I'm going to put a little bit of setting spray on, but I don't have a setting spray dupe, unfortunately, because I have run out of my high-end setting sprays, my Urban Decay ones, which I don't even think I have a dupe for them anyways. Okay, so we're going to move on to cheek products now. So for bronzer, I'm pretty sure the last Dupes video I did the Hula Light, so I didn't want to do that one again. So if I do the Too Faced Milk Chocolate Soleil, because it's like a classic. The thing is, I have loads of really good, affordable bronzers, but I was basically trying to find something that matched the tone as close as possible, more than anything. And it's difficult, because like I literally go through all of my bronzers, right, and I love them all, they all work great for my skin tone, yet they all just look slightly different, like the tone of them. I felt like this one from MUA, which I have broken the lid of this. This is the MUA Matte Bronzing Powder in Solar 100. I felt like they were kind of similar in tone. I don't know if that actually looks like it on camera, but again, like I was trying really hard. I felt like it was the closest one I could find, and like they literally look the same on the skin, so I'm gonna start with my Too Faced one, which I love, mainly because of the chocolate smell. So I'm using this one to chisel out this side of my face. I do very much enjoy this bronzer, but it costs, didn't say how much it costs, £28, which is a lot of money, and the MUA one costs £3.50, which is, well, do I even need to say more? I do love this though, it's just very chiseling, shade works brilliant for pale skin tones. It's the Milk one, if I didn't say that already. It's just so good and chocolatey scent. But this MUA one that's £3.50 is also, it does a fantastic job. They both sort of have that kind of caramelly undertone, which is what made me pick this one out. Like, I feel like, yeah, that looks the same on the face. So, you know, the formula of these is very good. They're like not too intensely pigmented, but they obviously show up and they blend out nicely. And they're both matte, so I mean, there you go. Yeah, I feel like the tone of them looks pretty damn similar once they're on the face. It's maybe not exactly the same, but you know, I was struggling here. I literally just went through and like swatched all of them. But the thing with bronzers is they don't really swatch that well anyway, so it's just very difficult to do. But I am content with this dupe. Okay, so my blush dupe, so this is the Ciate, I think it's called like the Illuminating Blush or something. I did find it on Look Fantastic. However, I went on Ciate's website and this wasn't here, but there was something that looked like it was like a revamped version of this. I'll put like a screenshot or a link or something to what I mean. But I mean, you can still get this one on Look Fantastic, so I'll put a link to that too. But I'm pretty sure there's like an updated version of this on Ciate's website now. But the shade for this one is In Too Deep, and like some of the shades look like they were pretty similar. Like they matched up with this. It just like, it looked a little bit different. Anyway, my dupe for this is this collection Soft Glow blush, which is in Trouble, which I believe this also has different packaging now as well. I picked this as a dupe just because I thought like the tone of them looked really similar. and they've both like sort of got like a really subtle amount of illumination in them. If you ignore like the sort of like lighter bits in the Ciate one, like the actual base colour is really similar to the collection one, in my opinion. So that is what we're going to use for a dupe. My Ciate one also has a fallen out. That happened a while ago, but it's still usable. So we're going to pop some of the Ciate blush on this side. Was that too much? It might have been too much. But yeah, the shade, like the undertone of these shades is really similar, and they both have like illumination, but like not too much illumination. Say like the Ciate one is maybe like ever so slightly more pigmented. They're both fairly natural blushes though, but the Ciate one's maybe a teeny bit more pigmented. But yeah, like that looks pretty much the same on the skin, like the shade, and the formula's like reasonably similar as well. Okay, so for highlighter, I have two dupes because I got a bit unsure of what to do with this. So I thought like, oh, I should do a dupe to the Becca highlighter because obviously Becca is like closing down. I think it has officially closed down now. But like this was like a cult favourite that everyone loved, so I thought it makes sense to do a dupe for it. But then I was sort of like, oh well, I can't include the price of this in my big subtotal because I don't know what the original price is anymore because it's not available. But anyway, this is the Shimmering Skin Perfector. This is the Pearl shade from Becca. It's beautiful. I love it. I still use it a lot. This I thought was really similar in shade. The formula's pretty similar too. It's the Revolution Highlighter Reloaded in Set the Tone. They're both like really kind of like white icy shades. The Revolution one I would say is actually a tiny bit more pigmented, but the formula's pretty similar. I mean, that's them on my fingertips there. There's maybe like the ever so slightest difference in colour. Like I feel like there's a little bit more silver in the Becca one. I don't know, I might use my other dupe instead, which was like the Doll Beauty one for the expensive side, which this is £15, so it's not actually like super expensive. But this is the Like a Diamond highlighter, which is broken. I've been like mushing it together with my fingers. So yeah, even though this isn't ridiculously expensive, I mean, I still think £15 is a lot of money for a highlighter. The dupe I have for this is considerably cheaper. This is £3.95. It's the Catrice More Than Glow highlighter, and I feel like these have a very similar colour and a very similar texture and formula. They're both that sort of like metallic, kind of chunky almost highlighter style. So I think I will use this one just because they're both still available for a start off. They're both the sort of like kind of pale goldy sort of colour. But yeah, the Catrice one is one of my favourites. Absolute bargain, £3.95, and it's just as good as this Doll Beauty one, and my Doll Beauty one is also like falling apart, so that is unfortunate. But I'm going to use the Doll Beauty one, I think. I don't know if I'll maybe use the Becca Revolution one somewhere else on my face, I don't know. I'm just going to stick with this for now though. But yeah, I mean, this is a gorgeous highlighter. Just wish it wasn't broken. I mean, it is so intense. Metallic looking, it's really nice, but the Catrice one does the same thing, so I'm going to wipe off all that product off my brush. Really, if I was being super fair, I'd use a different brush, but can't be bothered, and I like this brush, so. This one's maybe, I feel like the colours, I feel like the gold undertone is a bit stronger with the Catrice one, but I do feel like the colours are pretty similar. I mean, that's really nice, but that is also really nice, so, you know. Okay, so we're going to move on to brows. I don't have a pencil dupe, mainly just because I only think I have one high-end brow pencil, and it's the Benefit one, and I'm pretty sure I already duped that in my like video from 2 years ago, so I'm just going to do a brow gel dupe. So the high-end one is the Uoma Beauty Blowout Brow Gel. Each time I use this, I feel like this grows on me more, because I was sort of unsure about it at the start, but then the more I use it, the more I actually kind of really like this brow gel. But a brow gel I think is really similar is the Sosu Tinted Brow Gel. This one, I don't know the shade of either of these. The shades aren't exactly the same, but they're fairly similar. I do feel like the formula of these is quite similar in that they're natural, but they're not like really natural, sort of, you know, like the Benefit Gimme Brow kind of formula. They're not like that, but they still look pretty natural. Like both of these you do have to tap off a bit of excess with, but I do feel like they give a very similar effect. Okay, switching the Sosu one. The colour's like a little bit like more chocolatey, whereas the EYESHADOW one has like a bit more of an ashy tone, which matches my natural brow hairs a bit better. But I do feel like formula wise they're quite similar. They've both got a really small wand. Yeah, obviously the shade isn't the same, but I feel like the way it brushes through the product and like the actual formula itself is quite similar. I do not have a brow, like I said, I don't have a brow pencil dupe, so I'm going to do that off camera. And I might as well finish my eyes off camera because I'm literally just going to use the same transition shades and like smudge them out under the little lash line. So I'll be back with the eyes and the brows done and we'll finish on a lip product. Okay, so our last dupe is a lip product and it's kind of a rubbish one because I feel like a lot of people know this one already. But the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb, I think this is the like original one. I don't know. I'll put a screenshot on the screen most likely. The Revolution Pout Bomb Plumping Lip Gloss is very similar. Fenty Beauty one's £18, Revolution one is £5. The shades are kind of similar. They're like a tiny bit different. This one's a little bit like richer, a little bit deeper. But I feel like they're probably gonna look pretty similar. I wear both of these like all the time. Like the amount I bang on about how much I like matte lips, like I seem to wear these like more than anything else. I think they're just very like quick and easy to put on and to like top up. The only issue is like if it's windy outside and your hair's down, it can be a bit of a conflict of interest, you know. They both got very like hydrating, like moisturizing texture. The Pout Bomb one does actually have a bit of a tingly thing going on, whereas the Fenty one doesn't, but they're both got a very similar effect, I feel. Yeah, this one's like a little bit darker, but I feel like there are other shades of this, so there probably is one that matches it a bit more. And the same with the Fenty one, I'm pretty sure that comes in different shades as well, so. What I'm trying to say is there probably is a closer shade match. Okay, well that is all of my dupes. Like I said earlier, I don't have a setting spray dupe. So I'm just going to clean up the mascara method made, because I can see a little dot here I need to get rid of, and do something with my hair. And we'll talk about our final thoughts. Okay, so this is the finished look. Do you think it looks the same on both sides? Because I think it looks the same on both sides. Like, I feel like if I went out right now, I highly doubt anyone would be able to tell that I've got like different makeup products on each side of my face. I feel like it looks very cohesive. So I added up all of the products that we used today. Obviously I know I skipped a few categories and stuff, so I mean maybe not the most accurate figures, I don't know. But all of the high-end products we used comes to £285.50, and the drugstore side comes to £67.32, which is, that's really affordable. Like that's like in our economy that is pretty cheap for like minus a few things, a full face of makeup. Like I feel like if I added in the things that I missed, it'd probably come up to like what, like 80 something pounds probably. Yeah, but overall I am very pleased with how this has turned out. I think like it looks good. Like goes to show, cheap makeup just as good as expensive makeup. Does it stop me buying the expensive makeup? No, of course it doesn't. But it's always nice to just reflect upon that fact. Yeah, I feel like some of these dupes were better than others. Some of them you probably already know about. Some of them, I don't know. You decide how you feel about them. But that is it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.